Coming out of Wilmington off US 117, College Road is where I-40 begins its path. Technically, we're not even in Wilmington, but in an unincorporated area known as Kings Grant. North Carolina gives us a proper begin I-40 sign as we go from Surface Boulevard to mighty Interstate. US 117 is sent off on the first exit and I-40 travels alone. In North Carolina, sports are a pretty big deal, so they have named this section of I-40 the Michael Jordan Freeway, after the greatest basketball player of all time, who hails from nearby Wilmington. We are in a more north-south direction here, and the next interchange is with the new-ish spur route known as Interstate 140. The eastern section is still named NC 140, and signage here is for Myrtle Beach and Jacksonville. Our control city is Raleigh. You'll see a mileage sign here for Barstow, California, 2,554 miles away, along with Raleigh and Benson. This larger sign replaces the older sign that only had Barstow, which was stolen 5 times before the NCDOT just gave up on replacing it. So far, this one still stands. Between the Raleigh area and Wilmington, there isn't much to see. You'll be passing through some of the most boring and depressing parts of North Carolina. Even the interchange with I-95 is one of the least interesting of crossings for such major interstates. North Carolina uses Benson and Fayetteville to the south and Rocky Mount and Smithfield to the north as control cities. Benson and Smithfield appearing as a testament to North Carolina's eagerness to try and draw traffic to its small towns. And as a sign of the tremendous growth of the Triangle area, you're going to see the freeway open up to several more lanes as far south as the interchange here with NC 42. Growing up, I remember when this all was just a little 4-lane highway. Now look at I-40, all grown up. Next up is a major construction zone. Here we have an interesting junction with both NC 540 and I-42. 2 partially completed freeways, NC 540 being the outer beltway around Raleigh and I-42 following the US 70 corridor east to help folks from Raleigh get to the beach a little faster. The completed design will look something like this. From here to the Raleigh Beltway, I-40 opens up to a whopping 10 lanes, one of the widest sections of freeway in the state. Cars, cars, cars. The suburbs around Raleigh are growing rapidly, and North Carolina is giving them the capacity they need. As we approach the Beltway, you'll see signage for I-87 and I-440. Yep, that is not your imagination. There is now an I-87 in North Carolina. It is planned to eventually connect Raleigh to Norfolk, Virginia, though I'd be surprised if Virginia even bothered with it in our lifetimes. So seeing I-87 down here in the south should make all the New York transplants feel right at home. I-440 used to be signed around the entire Beltway, but the concurrency with I-40 was removed due to driver confusion. I-40 travels south of downtown, so you can't see it unless you look to the right. The next major interchange is with US 1, which serves as the main north-south highway for Raleigh. US 64 leaves the Beltway to join US 1 to the southwest. And as we pass Cary to the west, a famous relocation spot for New Yorkers, we encounter the interesting freeway stub known as Wade Avenue. Contrary to popular belief, this was never a partial stub or section of I-40. It always was intended as an additional connector. This stretch of I-40 runs through the heart of the Triangle area. First, the Raleigh-Durham Airport, then the second interchange with I-540. And after entering Durham County, we pass by the economic engine of the area, Research Triangle Park. After Research Triangle Park, there is yet another auxiliary interstate, and that is I-885. Yep, I told you guys on that older video that North Carolina was swimming in interstates. I-885 forms an eastern loop around Durham and takes you to I-85 north of downtown. That's also the direction you want to go if you're interested in seeing downtown Durham, as I-40 mostly bypasses it to the south. At the exit for US 15501, you can go to Chapel Hill to the south, or you can check out that other school to the north. This section of I-40 is also named the Roy Williams Highway after the Carolina Tar Heels coach. It is after this interchange where I-40 finally loses all of its lanes and drops back down to 2. So this upcoming stretch is one of the more annoying and congested parts to drive. Fortunately, the NCDOT is in the process of widening it as we speak. Approaching I-85, you'll see signage for I-85 north to Durham, and there is nothing for I-85 south as we are about to join it. I-40 comes off a ramp and joins I-85 from the right, as I-85 was here first, and I-40 was late to the party. The mileage numbers here also use I-85 rather than I-40. Between here and Greensboro, the concurrency with I-85 was widened to 8 lanes from 2, and every bridge was torn down and replaced back in the 90s. 30 years later and millions of new residents, it's still getting the job done. So much for induced demand in North Carolina. One thing I will say about this stretch is that it is usually crawling with state troopers. However, they seem to not bother you unless you're doing like 85 miles per hour or higher. Approaching Greensboro, you'll get several gigantic overhead signs to let you know what's coming. With the recently completed Greensboro Loop, I-85 will exit with the far left lanes while I-40 continues straight. You'll also see additional auxiliary routes for I-785 and I-40 listed, and if you want to access these, you will use the I-40 path. Interstate 840 is the beltway around Greensboro, while I-785 is to connect Greensboro to Danville, Virginia. In the future, but North Carolina couldn't wait to sign it anyway, despite it not existing outside of the loop for now. I-40 does travel closer to the core of Greensboro than it did Raleigh, and despite only 6 lanes here, the traffic is generally smooth. Moving I-85 to the Beltway has greatly improved things at this interchange that was formerly known as Death Valley. The Greensboro Winston-Salem area is practically swimming in interstates, and as such has some of the best flowing traffic of any metro area in the country. Interstate 40 is mostly a breeze through here. You'll encounter the other side of I-840 along with Interstate 73 near the airport. At US 421, despite I-40 being the one sound from Winston-Salem, it is the highway that will take you closer to downtown Winston-Salem. After this, you'll encounter a construction area along with Interstate 74. Interstate 74 will eventually be routed onto this eastern loop around Winston-Salem, making it yet another North Carolina city with a beltway. If I didn't know any better, I think Texas and North Carolina were in an arms race to see who can build the most loops around their cities. Next up, there is Interstate 285. Yep, Georgia is no longer the only one with an I-285. This one here runs south to I-85 in Lexington to give Winston-Salem a more direct interstate connection to Charlotte. And after an almost continuous trek through developed areas, the scenery along I-40 in North Carolina starts to calm down after this second interchange with US 421. That highway continues west as a freeway out to Wilkesboro, and surprisingly, North Carolina hasn't tried to make it into an interstate just yet. The control city for I-40 is Statesville, which is known for being the junction of I-40 and I-77. An overburdened interchange which has been undergoing a complete reconstruction over the past few years. Believe it or not, this area is actually a part of the Charlotte metro area. Yes, it stretches that far north, so technically I-40 passes through all 3 of North Carolina's largest metro areas now. After Hickory and Catawba County, things are starting to get a bit hilly. We are approaching the mountains at this point. Outside of Black Mountain, we get our first taste of mountain driving. Fortunately, it's 3 lanes on each side, so there's room to pass the slower moving trucks. And then you reach Asheville, North Carolina's premier mountain town. It has a loop known as Interstate 240 that swings to the north. Then there is I-26, which is slated for a very expensive redesign out here in the future. In this area, US 74 is hanging around and leaves near Clyde on the Great Smoky Mountains Expressway, another scenic route you can take to get to Waynesville or all the way out to Little Murphy. Now, between here and the Tennessee state line is a section that you've seen in the news that was wrecked by Hurricane Helene. I haven't been through there since then, but before then, it was quite the scenic route through the Pigeon River Gorge. Things might look a little different when North Carolina finishes rebuilding the highway. And then we cross over into Tennessee.